I came across this quote yesterday. I think it was attributable to Navarro Ravikant. And he says, inspiration is perishable. So if you don't act on it now, immediately, you lose it. And I was thinking about this, and I'm sure we all go through this. Like, you have an inspiration, something comes to your mind, you're like, oh, I should write this down. And once you don't write it down, and before you know, you forget what it's all about. And like you could, probably even reading a book, you go back to the book over and over, but you can never find that thing like you saw, just like, so you miss the opportunity to just jot it down and just take note. Or sometimes you're in the shower, inspiration hits, and you're thinking, oh, like once I get out of shower, I'm gonna put this down, write it down, and then you're out of shower, you lost. So, and Jim Rohn says, what you don't use, you lose it. Like if you tie your arm to your chest or to your back, and after a period of time, you lose the power or the muscle in that arm, and you stop using it. Another book I was reading, John Maxwell, and he was saying, like, he puts a pen and a paper next to his bedside, so whenever inspiration hits, he wakes up regardless of what time it is at night, and he writes it down. Because, like, sometime morning comes and you've lost it, and you can, regardless of what you do, you can't go back to that place, that spot, that you can never recollect what it was. Be a conversation, be a movie you watch, you can never recreate that. And there's one reason for that. It's like our brain, like, it's got a limited capacity, and most time you just want to get rid of whatever it thinks is not going to harm you, like, puts it back down somewhere, and just focuses on your mundane things. And like most of the things you do, 50% of things you do every day, you don't think about them. They're like mundane, they repeatedly, you just wake up, shower, brush your teeth, into a car, and you've gone. So your brain kind of brings those things that you do regularly, because you don't need to think about them. They're just there, and whatever you need to think about, they're filed in a different folder. So why am I going about like inspiration? It's like, once you, if for instance, if you've been like in a professional game and they say the player is in the zone, so once you get in that zone, it's that period. Like, you can never be in the zone forever. It's a periodic thing. So once you get in the zone, you make use of it. Because sometimes you just like, you're out of the zone and nothing works. So what I'm basically going to is strength. When inspiration strikes, sometimes all you can do is just, you think you haven't got the capacity, and like this the circumstance, it's not the right time, and you just gently walk away. But then it takes strength to walk away. But then sometimes you need the courage to go all in, even when everything is not ready, even when everything is not set, even like you can't see the end, but you can start. You can start. You just like, you can't see what's gonna happen the next 2 days, 3 days. You just start. Sometimes that's how businesses flourish. You just start with what you can do, and every 100 mile you walk, you see better, you gain a better understanding, and then you grow. So basically what I'm driving at is, regardless of where you are, regardless of what you're going through, every decision you make, every action you take, even your inaction, it's a decision. Like, you can decide to, you either take the courage to carry on or have the strength to walk away. Like, things haven't changed for you over years, and you've remained in the same position, but you're too scared to take a leap because you're scared of failing, you're scared of what people might say, but you're not really making progress where you are, but it just feels comfortable. You don't want to challenge the status quo. Like, some say the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. But sometimes taking a leap of faith. So basically, the only thing that's holding you back in anything is just you, your decision. You are the obstacle in your own way. Like, the circumstance can tell you no, the economy can tell you no, no one can actually tell you no but you. No one can actually tell you no but you. So just imagine, you woke up first thing in the morning, you somehow got yourself to work, and your boss called you. And just before you sat down, your colleague came to you and just announced, oh, he's just gotten a promotion. And you're like, oh, that's good for you. And then you sat down, about to have your morning coffee, and just as you're walking over to the coffee machine, another mate saw you and just told you, oh, he just gotten a promotion, and a better salary package in benefit and everything. You're like, oh, congratulating you. And he was like, oh, by the way, the boss wants to see you. And then you're very excited. You're thinking, wow, everyone is getting a promotion today. It could be my day. And then you just, make your way down to your boss's office, and he just says to you, have a seat. And you have a seat. And he said to you, as we all know, you haven't been performing, you lack direction, and we all know you can't even think for yourself. So you haven't contributed anything to this company. So going forward, I, your boss, would think for you. I would think for you not only in your job, but how you're going to coordinate your life outside job. You like your family, when you have to take your holidays and whatnot. And not only would I make sure you don't get promoted, you don't excel in life, nothing changes for you, I will also make sure I'll put you in a place where your children are also going to materialize to nothing, so they could be ready to serve and work for my children. So, like, you're not only going to serve me, but your generation is going to serve me. And you're polite enough to ask why. And he says simply, like, all through the time you've been in this company, you've been very inactive. Most of the time, you're non-committal. You more likely to have any inaction. You have no direction. You practically unconscious and numb. And you were polite enough to carry on, as you do. You're like, how do you mean? And he says, every time you should have done something, every time you should have taken an action, you either forgo your right to contribute or you abstain. And for every time you've abstained from contributing, the void has been taken over by a different action. And regardless of what action, good or bad, because you've forgone your authority, he, your boss, has taken over your responsibility. So what am I trying to get to? Basically, I'm saying we all sometimes try to forgo our responsibility. Like we act like, oh, well, I don't need to participate in this. It's never going to affect me. It hasn't affected me. I'm doing well. I'm fine now. And what good can it do? So by being I think I was listening to Jordan Peterson the other day, and he was saying, you either become dangerously conscious or undangerously conscious. And what does it mean by becoming dangerously conscious? Dangerously conscious mean when you actually bash your way around, take advantage of people. You have all the power, and then you take advantage of them to the fullest extent. You throw your weight around. That's like you are powerful, but then you are taking advantage of being powerful. So that is being dangerously conscious. But we can also be very, very, we can also be unconsciously dangerous by forfeiting our right, by not participating in what we know we could change, by not taking action to enable ourselves, our family, our community to advance. And sometimes it might be true self-interest, not looking at the longer picture, thinking you're going to get a quick win. Having spoken to many people and read a lot of books, even watching Animal Planet, it's human instinct to dominate. I mean, just look at history. Even the animals, like some animals would eat, some herbivorous animal would eat, will become carnivorous during a particular season. When the scarcity of food, they would eat. You will see a hippo chew on meat. You would see monkeys eat. It's human to be dominant. You always see people want to dominate another person. And who are being dominated? Those who have forgone their right, either consciously or subconsciously. They said, we human, we should be consciously dangerous. Like you always hear they talk about, oh, he is a gentle giant. Like you should be conscious, like where people know, like, oh, I don't want to mess with that guy. But you should be controlled enough to be able to control your aggression. It's not him who's got all the power that you can throw it around, but him who has all the power but it's able to put it under control. I think another problem is we underestimate our current self, and then we overestimate our future. We all hope things are going to get better in the future without actually participating now, without actually contributing now. Like we don't know what we're capable of doing now. You actually don't know what's possible just by making the little change you can, taking a little action, contributing, like doing what you know is best. But most time we're like in a place where we're like, oh, what can I do? Lonely me, I have no power, I have no influence. But there is something you can do. Jordan Peterson talks about just tidying your room, cleaning yourself up. There's a start. And by cleaning yourself up, tidying up your room, maybe you're able to attract a better mate, a better partner. By educating yourself, maybe you'll be able to marry into, a better family, gain a better job, start communicating with different people, learning more. So there is so much we can do. But the problem is sacrifice and commitment. Sacrifice and commitment. They say sacrifice and commitment are absolutely the same thing. Like if there is no commitment, there is no sacrifice. If we cross our hands and just wait for fair play that we're going to get benefited from, the chances are so slim. It's like winning the lottery. Everyone who's committed to something has to sacrifice some other things to have the opportunity to go. It's like superstars, basketballers, footballers. They have to forgo other field to concentrate on one field. So there's always sacrifice at play. We're always sacrificing every day. We go to work not because we really like the job or most of us, but we know we have to put food on the table. Therefore, we sacrifice our time for money so we can hopefully trying to give our kids, families a better life. But there's another sacrifice we should be focusing. What's their future? What is going to happen to them in a few years? This country, where is it going to lead us? Are they going to be running in their 50s, 60s like people are doing now? Or are they going to be relaxing and retiring in a new, evolved country? So we make sacrifice every day. They say choose your sacrifice. Most times you sacrifice for that thing which is like most important in your life. And for some people it's their job, some people it's their career, some it's their family. We all make sacrifices. It's just choosing the sacrifice you're willing to make. We do this every day, little by little, step by step. But we don't see the result. We're not celebrated. But then we are making that sacrifice. So when it comes to making sacrifice, only those individually, collectively, pull our weights together can we make a change. Because we don't need to move a huge mountain, just chipping away gradually, that is enough. That is enough. And this happens every day. Why no one applauds you? Why no one notices you? Your sacrifice counts. Because you are committed to it every single day. Why? Because whatever you're sacrificing for is worth it. So it's just for you to we can all come today, push together, hoping tomorrow is going to be better. Hoping we don't get to 40 years, 50, 60 years, and we'll have to pack up and run. Pack up and leave. Migrate to a new country and start afresh as a beginner, a trainer. There's nothing wrong with being a trainer. There's nothing wrong with being a beginner. But not when you are 40, because who would look at 25, people will start asking you, what have you done for the rest of your life that you're now about to start now? So you don't want to keep on doing the same thing that people have done now. Every day, there's drones of people living in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 60s. And these are people who are about to retire. They're running into different places to start a new life. And some say, oh, they're trying to give the kids a better life. But trying to give the kids a better life at what age? And for everything, there's a percentage. Because for instance, you run to a new country, most likely you're not going to be able to afford the good part of town. You end up like in a worse area than where you're coming from. Your kids have the worst education, the bad school, bad friend, bad influence, and sometimes the kids are not actually able. They have a less fighting chance than where they've come from. So you've run to give them a better life, but then you've taken them to a place that you would never have lived in if this was your own country. And why is this? This has come about because most of us have crossed our hand, said, well, it's got nothing to do with us. We are doing well. Let those who can't cater for them, let them go and fight for it. And now it's all turning around and we can feel the impact. So whatever you're doing, you have the power now to stand up and count, to stand up and walk, to stand up and join everyone to make a new beginning. I know this could be daunting with so many choices, but it's simple, really. Once you know you have to sacrifice, then you ask yourself, for what? Simple. What's the most valuable thing to you? Once you realize this, then your choice is made. Like I keep saying, it's better to become consciously dangerous, because then you could have the power but not, or choose not to use it, than to become unconsciously dangerous, where you spend most of your time trying to get occupied because you're so bored, you don't want to participate in anything that has the capacity of lifting people out of everything you think about is just self-interest. Your focus is so short-sighted, you have no single delayed gratification. This is becoming unconsciously dangerous, and there's a lot of people in that field today. They just all they want to do, Cal Newport talks about this. You become so bored of spending time with yourself. You just want to get occupied with some consuming of some sort of TV. You have all the subscription to all the TV channels, all the digital one, all the cables, all the skate, everything, just so you don't spend time with yourself and think. Just so you cannot find yourself. Just so you after you work, you get home, you just want to consume. You have no time to say to yourself, where am I going? Where are we going? What's changing? If I carry, you have no long-sighted goal. And then it gets to 60 years, 50 years, you want to make a drastic change. You want to become someone who no one messes with, that sort of a gentle giant. You have all the power, but you put it under control. I believe it's important we all come together and create a new value, a value that will have a check and balance on ourselves, a value that, because the reason I'm saying we need a new value is currently every single person is a reflection of our environment. Like if you take one person out, the next person who gets in there are going to be actually more dangerous, because it's like they've just been waiting to say, this is my turn to take advantage. Why? Because everyone who's gone before them, nothing. They've gotten away with everything. Nothing has been done. So what's there to scare them? What's there to scare you? What's in place to prevent people? It's important you see this moment not as an end, but as a new beginning. life, like I keep saying, our life is about decision. It's what to accept and what not to accept, what to do and what not to do. If you fold your hands and decide not to take an action, that void will be taken over by a different action, and the outcome might not be favorable to you. So stand up and be counted. Stand up and try to make a change. Like, you actually don't need to do much. All you need, if you, yourself, and 5 people could sit down and then discuss, what are you really willing to sacrifice for? What is your number one thing, like, you want to go for? Then look for a way to get that. Look for who to get that. Look for someone to go against or someone to support. I read this book, 50 Cent was saying about when he was speaking about Oprah Winfrey. He said Oprah would never invite him to her show because Oprah was against rap music and everything like that. So he has his own fans, so he never wanted to be seen like someone who would never make it in Oprah. So he has to go and try to kind of, in a rap way, set up a beef with Oprah. And then sometimes she ran into Oprah's friend in a party, and they got talking, and he basically said, look, I have nothing against Oprah, but the thing is, I'd rather be someone she hated if she's not going to like me than someone who doesn't exist to her. Because at least when someone hates you, there is a sort of energy, there's a sort of attention, they know you exist. So that's what I'm saying. When you are here trying to make an impact, like, not every single person would be able to change the world, but at least contribute your own quarter to it. Contribute your own quarter to it. I'll just go back to this quote attributed to Heraclitus, where he says, out of 100 men, there is just one warrior. There's nine fighters that will fight the war, but 80 are just target practices, and 10 has no point of being at that war or that battle. So you have a place. There is something that you're there for. You have a place. There's something that you're there for, and you're sacrificing every day for these things. It's just to say, now is the time to make the biggest sacrifice. Now is the time to carry on. Now is time to head in the right direction. Because what? The person who is taking advantage of you would never willingly give back power. Would never willingly. Why? When have you seen there been two masters in a boat? It's human instinct to dominate. It's human instinct. You can look down history. It's human instinct to try to fight and take territories. It's human. It has nothing to do with color, race. It's human to take territories. And he who has the biggest gun to take over the biggest territory. So you cannot be unconscious. Like, the time to go, the time to be unconscious is gone. The time to be ignorant is gone. Like Sadhguru says, what you don't know would hurt you. What you don't know will hurt you. Like, ignorance is a bliss. No, ignorance is a tragedy. Everyone has the opportunity to educate themselves on even a specific field, even one area in life, and say, this area, I'm going to be known in this area. I'm going to go for this. Is going to be me. This is what I'm going to be known for. So you cannot make any excuses anymore. You can't not just. I'll give you an example of, for those of you who, I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and he was talking about education. So he was saying you need to have a plan B, that even for kids who play sports, they need to have a plan B. Like you can't just go 100% into sport and play sport for the rest of your life. You need to have a plan B in case sport doesn't work, and then you go into use your degree for whatever you have, and then you can make a decent living. And I totally agree with that concept of having education. I agree with the concept of having education, but the education I believe in is different from the education most people believe in. I believe in, for instance, when you go to any higher institution, you have a discipline. It's called a discipline because you focus on that area and you forgo other area. You become a specialist in that one subject. Sacrifice and commitment, like I said before, coming back to sacrifice and commitment, you sacrifice every other area subject for that discipline. You become committed to it, and that's so you get educated mostly in one area. You might touch in other models, but you mainly on one area. If you're going to become a lawyer or doctor, a nurse or practitioner, an architect, whatever, you focus in mainly on one area, as they call it, your major. So you're foregoing all other area. Therefore, you are sacrificing as well, and you're taking risk. But then, when they talk about sports stars and musician, whatever, they always say you should have a plan B in case you don't make it. You have something to fall back on, like education. So I was saying to him, like, I totally agree on self-educating, like not the compulsory education where you go to where you're forced to go to high school, because most people stop educating themselves after high school, because that for them that's the mandatory education. After high school they never, in fact, I have some friends after high school, they said that's it. The last day they left high school, they had a rag day. They said, this is it for me. I'm never going to put myself through this anymore. I'm never going to study anymore. It's done. So some people, the day they left high school, from that day, they start declining, because they say what you don't use dies. So when you don't use your brain, it start going downward. So they stop educating themselves, they stop taking exams, they stop challenging themselves, and that means they start declining. Basically retired, waiting to die. So for me, I believe in self-education, like self-imposed education. To go out, read something, and trying to understand an area, and trying to understand people, trying to educate yourself outside at standard curriculum, outside a set curriculum. Because we all know, as I say, education is basically prepping you for work. That's what education is, prepping you to become an employee, probably a good one, So I have this concept that most people who have migrated from developing countries, especially in their 60s, they would have to compete with kids in the 25 for employment. That means they probably wouldn't get the best employment, so they moved down to outskirts, the city, like maybe very deprived area, and now their kids are put in harm's way, or their kids are not so like basically an area they would never live in their country of origin. And now the education itself, you go like maybe free schools, but what sort of education are you getting? Because those who control the country, they start from private school. I'm not saying like you can't make it from public school and end up like being among those who run the country, those who work on Wall Street, those who work on the city. Of course you can, but your chances of getting there are low. I know myself, the percentage of getting there is very low. You have to be among the best, you have to be better than the best, because why? You already have the disadvantage of your school, the disadvantage of where you've come from, the disadvantage of your parents' connection, the disadvantage of your university. So everything stacks up against you. So therefore, you have to be like the smartest academically in everything. And even at that, some of the top university wouldn't accept you because why? They said you are not a well-rounded person. I know some smart kids with all the top scores, A stars in whatever but they can't get into the best universities in this country. They said they're not a well-rounded person. And how can they be a well-rounded person like their mom and dad have got full-time job? They have no time to commit to extracurricular activities. So how would they become a well-rounded kid? So if you look at it this way, you've migrated to a country where your kids have less possibility of making it, and now you are not actually earning enough. You have no time to spend with your kids because you're working and your wife is working. And then your kids get out of, God help, they make it to university, get out of university, they get a job paying 20k, 30k per annum. With a 20k, 30k job per annum, it's probably going to take them another 10 to 15 years to earn 100k per annum. And that's what a graduate from the top universities in the world earns the first year in the city. So it's taken 10, 15 years for you, someone who's been to university in the same country. It's taking you 10 to 15 years to earn the same amount of what someone earned in their first year. And let's imagine you all left university in the same year. So if you look at it this way, wherever you're coming from, it's good to just have a sit down and think. For one, not everyone is able to escape, regardless of how we want it. And not most countries in the world don't have the capacity to accommodate everyone. And even if they could, not everyone has the capacity to get there. So going back to my word, everyone has to make a sacrifice. Like, now is the time to make the sacrifice. Now is the time to stand up and be counted. There's this thing going around called #+5. #+5 simply means you and 5 people could make a difference. You and 5 more people making 6 could make a difference. If you all sit down, it's simple. Sit down, write, this is what we want and that's what we don't want. And simple, you go out and look for someone who's got what you want, you go with him, and you go for someone who who cannot offer what you don't have, you go against them. Looking for 5 to 10 years plan for something that's going to affect you and your kids, and even beyond your kid. Because let's take it, how much will you get offered that is going to change your circumstance and then your kid's circumstance? But when you get a good system in place, you have some countries right now, you're having a lot of returnees from the Western world, acquired a bit of education, and they're going back. Why? Because the system is changing. After so many years, a lot of people coming in and putting something in place that people are able to go back home and trying to establish. Like, if you don't do this now, the time might be too late. If you don't do this now, time might be too late. It's important to see now, not as an end, but as a beginning. Life is about decision. You know the decision. Someone says growth is fighting. Growth is fighting 2 demons. Saying no to one, rejecting their offer, even when it looks too good to be true, but you can see why you're playing the long game. And even when you have nothing, and you just say to yourself, look, I've been in this situation, this is not going to change my life, I'm playing the long game, I'm going to carry on. That is growth. Being able to say no I am giving myself to the highest good. I am giving myself to something that is going to bring change, not just for me today, but for me and every other person for a long time, for foreseeable future. Because this is where I grew up. This is where I want to stay. I don't want to get into my 40s, 50s, 60s, and I'm relocating to somewhere to become a trainee, to become an apprentice, to start studying after studying 20, 30, 40 years ago. Only you have the power now. Only you have that power to make that decision, to know that things to change, you have to change. Jim Rohn, one of my favorite teachers, he says, for things to change, you have to change. Like, we should stop waiting for people to come around, put their hands around us and change things for us. We should just stop crossing our fingers and looking to the heavens. We human, we like a seed. Everything we need is within us. Everything we need to change is within us. We have the power. We can make the change if we decide we are ready. If we decide we are ready, we have the power to make the change. Do not underestimate yourself. You can make a difference. Like simple things, clean yourself up, and people see you different. People, you can tell when maybe you purchase a new outfit or something, and you just put it on, and someone says, "Oh, that's nice." You feel good, and then they see you differently. So you don't underestimate yourself. There is so much you can do in this world. There's so much you can do. Like, you can't imagine the changes you can make. You can't imagine the power you've got. You can't imagine the power of choice. Like Viktor Frankl says, the last of the human freedom, the power to choose. You can't imagine. And it all starts with aiming, having a goal, having a plan, having a strategy. To start something, at least just aim. Just point your compass at one direction and say, I'm going to go for this. And maybe just by starting, who knows, you end up creating the future you want, the future that works for you, your family, your friends, everyone around you, everyone in your community, everyone in your city, everyone in your state, everyone in your country. Just by aiming. Or what else would you rather spend your time in rather than creating the better future for your family? Because the truth is, you sacrifice every single day. You sacrifice every single day. You go to work, you do whatever to get the best start in life for your family. But what about if you could contribute more to the wider society that actually makes it easier for the family, for the kids you're trying to prepare a better environment for? Like, you contribute in a wider sense that they have a better ride, that they don't get to the age of 40, 50 and they run in helter-skelter like most people are doing now. That at their retirement age, they're waiting to retire so they could run quickly, take the gratuities to another country to start afresh as a student. I know you wouldn't wish that on your kid. I know you wouldn't wish that on your generation. So why hold back? Because it's inhuman that no one gives. If you don't take, no one would give. It's inhuman. Like, people will keep taking and taking and taking. People are insatiable. No one would. If you don't ask, if you don't demand, if you don't take, if you don't contribute, if you don't participate, you would become unconsciously dangerous to yourself, to your family, to the society. As far as you're here, honestly, you really have no escape in this game. In this game, race of life, you have no escape. And it's got nothing to do with your race, your ethnicity, your tribe, your religion, your color. There are more people same as you who are scamming you, who are putting your pressure, who are taking advantage of you, who are doing all sorts of you. The same people as you. Most people who are scammed are from the same people from within their neighborhood, all the same color, race, tribe, ethnicity as them. So it has nothing. People think for themselves, not for I'm gonna get all this because it's for my people. No. So if you want a better future, you have to start thinking outside. I'm doing it for this because it's same as me. No, I'm doing it because it's going to provide a better future for us all. Like this, whatever we have will be shared equally. We'll go around. We'll have prepare a better place for my kids and the grandkids to live, to exist. Like my country wouldn't be erased in few years down the line. But I'm sure those who said, they did it for the tribe, religion, and all sorts, among those running all over the place now. Because regardless of how it is, there is in every society, there's always the 1%, those who have control, those who control everything. But as far as you know, in that 1%, which I know most of us are not, we have to try and take action that benefits us all, regardless of where we're from. We have to participate for a better future for us all. Because it might get to an age where even at 40, you can't even afford to run anymore. So I'm saying, don't become unconscious. Because the thing you most value, and for most of us is our family, they are at stake. They are at stake. Except they're not worthwhile to you, but they are at stake. Because it's not just for today. And how many people can you gather and run with you? How many people? So the days of like, I can't participate, I'm doing fine, is gone. Now, if you want a better future, you need to contribute. You need to participate in your own way to make a change. How much could you be paid? Through food, money? How long would it last? Where will it take you to? I'm sorry, regardless of how much you get paid, I'm sure you know that's probably 1/10 of what you want. And how long, for how many generations would it last? Because the only people who benefit from this whole thing are the 1%. And if you're not in that 1%, you might as well put your resources together and try to work for change. A change you hope in, whatever you think your change is. Like, this is the reason we should have faith. Faith is the courage to not give up, even though giving up might seem justified. Like, you've gone through so much, you think like, look, I might as well throw in the towel. But faith is the ability to carry on. Faith is the ability to push on. Faith is the ability to say, look, I know everything hasn't gone to plan, but I am willing to try. I'm willing to give it another go. I'm willing to at least see how things go. That is faith. So I'm saying, have faith. But have faith not in terms of folding your hands, wishing, praying, speaking in tongues. I'm saying have faith in terms of go out and make your mark. Go out and contribute. Go out and walk towards what you believe in. Go out and get your +5. Because just with 5 people, I tell you, if 5 people brings in 5 people and 5 people brings in 5 people, imagine the change you can make in your community. And as they say, charity starts at home. So if you can make a change in your community, imagine how wide you could go. Imagine how wide you could go. We'll gather around with friends, kick ball about and do so. Getting 5 people, especially if you're young, if you're young, you easier to make friends in 2-3 months compared to if you're older, it takes years. But everyone could. Everyone has some kind of link, some kind of friendship, some kind of connection that you could go and start making change. What is the worst case scenario? What is the worst case scenario? What if everything that could be hell on earth happens? And based on where you are today, what is the worst case scenario? What's the worst that could happen in the next 5-10 years from now? What is the worst? Where do you think the country could get to? Whether it's getting better or worse? What's the worst case scenario for you? And these are the things you need to look at yourself. Say, look, the country is so good for me, I might as well just let it be how it is, carry on. It favors me. If that's you, fine. But if it's not going your direction, then you need a change. But if it's working for you, why fix what's broken? And that's why people would never give up power willingly. No one will give up power willingly, because if something is not broken, why fix it? Why change the direction? Why make it work against you? Said power is intoxicating. It really is. It really is. It really is. Commitment and sacrifice. Commitment and sacrifice. So, like, gone are the days where someone can come and fool you around or fool you with some food or whatever. Like, gone are the days. Everyone knows an ingenuine commitment. Even like in the Bible, Cain and Abel, when Cain was making some unholy sacrifice, God didn't accept it. Why? Because God said to him, why are you, it's like you're trying to pull one over God. And there's a lot of people there these days trying to pull one over you, because every time they take advantage of you, they say, look, I've taken advantage of that. He's a fool. I've bought them so cheap. They so deteriorated and destitute. You only need to give them food. Is that what it's come to? Like, you only need food, the food that you've survived up to now without, and that's gonna persuade you to suffer another 8 years, and not just to put yourself through that, to put your family, your kid, your generation through that, just for food. Because everyone knows an improper sacrifice. Everyone knows when something is not genuine. So when people are taking advantage of you. Is it that you just willing to accept? There's a saying that the predator and the prey are kind of agreement. That when people are taking advantage of you, it's only because you've allowed yourself to be taken advantage of. Like, you've signed on the dotted line, like, look, don't worry about me. I can take anything. You might go back home and curse yourself out and do everything, but you've put on a facade, like, I'm fine, I'm happy, I could take all your jokes, and then you go home and cry. So there's an agreement between the oppressed and the oppressed. I'm not saying in all circumstances, but in most circumstances, there's an agreement between the oppressed and the oppressor and the oppressed, because you have willingly accepted. That's why they say you should have a teeth like a lion, growl sometimes. You don't need to bite. Just people know that, you can if you want to, but then you should be controlled like a gentle giant who has all this power but never takes advantage of it. But you should let people know, this is where I stand and this is where I'm going to. This is me. You can't mess with me. And let people know you as that who people cannot mess with. What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to give? What is worthy of your time more than this present situation? What could be more important than now? What could be more important than now? I don't see what else is more important than now. Because the decision you make today is you're gonna live through it 4, 6, 8 years, even more, and your kids are gonna live the same thing. There's some countries now where the countries are so deteriorated, they like they actually, it's so deteriorated that there's no currency in place. Everyone, like, it's a waste of time. Like, you need a drum of or a lorry full of cash to buy bread. It's that. So when people say heaven on earth, you have that example of what hell could be and what heaven could be. Like, most places you run into, you think those are heaven, but now you have the power to make the choice, power to contribute, power to change, power to say, yeah, this is me, and I'm gonna become conscious. I'm gonna become consciously dangerous.